What's up, guys? This is Jacob Ross and Lucas Tracy MMA. It's our first episode of the MMA Dynasty.
Yeah, guys, welcome to the podcast. This is something that we've been planning for a while now. And anyway, the first thing I got to say is this is going to be one of the biggest podcasts in MMA. You know, both of us in Generation Z, and we're putting Generation Z on the map when it comes to the MMA world. I know most of you guys that are going to be watching are on the younger side. So you finally have a podcast where you have two guys that aren't going to be kissing any ass and sucking up to anyone, bro. We're speaking our minds.
Speaking facts.
This is it, man. We're not afraid to fucking talk some real shit on here. So
For sure.
Anyway, man, UFC 276 just went down, and
very interesting card. Very interesting.
Interesting card, man. Very interesting card. I really liked it. You know, the prelims. The early prelims weren't that great. You know, you had some boring fights on the early prelims. However, as soon as it got to the prelims, we had some bangers right off the bat. You know, we had Garry getting the great decision win. We had Jim Miller beating Cowboy Cerrone. And then we had Jalen Turner submitting Brad Riddell in the first round. And Dricus Duplessis and Brad Tavares go to war. So, you know, let's get into the overall recap of the card. Jacob, what did you think of the card as a whole?
So I thought it was a good card. A lot of people had some complaints about it. I saw, and I feel like that's more of just like the casual viewer. Like I mean, at least for me, like going right to the main event, the Adesanya fight, like a lot of people had a problem with it being boring. And like I get that, but like I didn't really have too much of a problem with it. Like I thought it was pretty technical, and and then they'll
from an Adesanya fight.
that's kind of what you have to expect. And a lot of people were saying that like you can't make him a main event anymore, and I don't agree on that. I think like he brings a lot of viewers to buy the pay-per-view. So I get it's boring, but like I mean, you gotta like in his position, he's a champion. The amount of money champions make is significantly more. He's not gonna like really risk that to just like stand and brawl. And also, I don't think it's not really only his fault. Like the opponents he's going against are too scared to like go in and like try to just like attack him. You know what I mean? So I think a lot of it is the opponents. You know what I mean? Because when we saw Paulo Costa went in and tried like just knock him out, Izzy was made some interesting, like got a crazy knockout. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's part of the reason, and I think part of it's also just Izzy just like not wanting to risk anything, like losing his belt or anything. But that was also the O'Malley fight. The eye poke. I mean, a lot of people I mean, at least myself too. Before the eye poke, it was a pretty boring fight too, you know. And I think the first round, O'Malley was kind of just feeling him out. Was checking some leg kicks. He got the punch to the eye?
Yeah, he landed a good right hand.
Very good
his eye in the first round. You know, not many people caught that. I didn't catch it until days later.
I actually saw that right away, and I saw that he was like rubbing his eye right after, and then O'Malley did the kick, and then Pedro said it hit was like it was a groin shot, but in reality it was like pretty much his stomach, and I think he used that time to really like recover from the shot to the eye. And then the next round, you saw O'Malley starts getting some good shots, getting it together. Really turning it up. And then Pedro, when O'Malley was just trying to like look for his range, didn't he like said like he got eye poke. But if you really look at the replay, his eye was closed when he got like the eye poke. Eye, and then like you didn't see like when other eye pokes happen, you usually see it like the finger touching the eye
into the eyeball.
That was not the case at all. And I think and like he didn't like they didn't even use the whole 5 minutes. He just was like saying he was done, like he couldn't see anything. Like
That's the thing that kind of struck me the wrong way is as soon as he got poked, his body language was indicative of, okay, fuck this, I'm done. This sucks. Like I don't even want to be in here. And you, okay, so first of all, as soon as this guy, allegedly gets poked in the eye, his body language is he's shaking his head. The doctor's saying, what's up, what's going on? And he's saying, I can't see. The referee is saying, okay, you take your time, your time. And Pedro, it is probably only a minute and 40 seconds into his 5-minute, time period.
Not even.
And he fucking cuts it off. So here's the thing. He did get punched in the eye in the first round. He touched his eye a bunch of times before then. Clearly his eye started bothering him. And I think that was his way out. And, I know that Pedro's a tough guy. I know that he's a durable guy. But I also know for a fucking fact that he milked that shit. And you know what? It was from the punch. Therefore,
it for sure was. We saw it swell up right away.
Exactly.
Right away.
That was, for me, that was probably the most unfortunate part of the card because, as I've said before, a lot of us love watching O'Malley fight. There's so much anticipation for O'Malley, and that's because of, his out of the cage antics, his personality as a whole, the way that he carries himself, the way that he, talks big game before the fights. Not the best trash talker. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it surprises me how he's such a good promoter, but when it comes,
but he doesn't. The press conferences, like you expect him to really just like talk. He doesn't really talk crap. He just says he's gonna like just knock him out. You know what I mean? Like, also him like just like being friends with the Nelk boys and like all that, like gives him like a good. Like people tune in to watch him. At this point they do, and I think it was just really unfortunate, especially because he didn't really get to turn it up yet. You know what I mean? Like so that was just very unfortunate. Feel bad for O'Malley because like his ranking is still going to be the same. You know what I'm saying? When like in reality he should be in the top 10 now. So that's also an interesting one because like where do you go from here for him? That's what I'm wondering.
I think that, again, what's so unfortunate is we all expected a good fight. We all expected a show. O'Malley always puts on entertaining fights. Now, the first thing I want to say is he's finally in there with a highly ranked, opponent. And it looked like the levels were a little closer. O'Malley wasn't just, jabbing Munoz's face off. He wasn't, lighting him up on the feet. Sure, he was probably getting the better of Munoz overall. He was checking a ton of the leg kicks, which was probably damaging Munoz's leg. Munoz didn't land a single shot to the head, hardly any body. And O'Malley touched him up a few times. Now, it was a very slow and technical fight, and I think that's because O'Malley got in there and recognized, right off the bat that Munoz is a fucking high-level fighter, and you can't just go in and fuck this guy up like you were able to do with, Raulian Paiva or, Eddie Wineland. However, it does suck because, I think the UFC is going to understand that, O'Malley's someone that's important and, this isn't his fault. Pedro is the one who found a way out of the fight. I think they're going to go ahead and give him another fight. I think they might give him Rob Font, who, just lost to Marlon Vera. Rob Font is tough as fuck. He's got some of the best boxing in the UFC, but I guarantee you if he fights Sean O'Malley, that's not going to be similar to what we saw last night. It's going to be more action-packed because he's a high-volume striker. I think that's the next fight. But, because the levels looked a little bit closer when O'Malley got in there with a higher-ranked guy, I think that, going into this fight, I thought it wasn't going to be so close. But if he fights Rob Font, it's going to be tough for O'Malley. I just hope that, they give him a fight soon. I know, here's the thing about O'Malley. He likes to take a lot of time off. He likes to fight and then, enjoy the fruits of his labor and party and get, enjoy the fame. I hope he makes a quick turnaround because he didn't take.
He should. Yeah. That's what I never understand with fighters. Like I know training camps are tough, but that's their job. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like that's like, especially if you're a fighter, like trying to prove something, like O'Malley is trying to like prove he could be a champion.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand like why he wouldn't pretty much, okay, like give it a few weeks, then get right back into training camp and fight Rob Font or something. You know what I mean? Because he needs to take these he needs these matchups for his career to get better because I mean, like obviously him and Peter Yan were going back and forth. That just doesn't make sense. Number 1 against a number 13, but
Yeah.
Rob Font coming off 2 losses against two tough guys would really be a good matchup, especially like a guy like Chito Vera beating him, who even fought O'Malley.
Yeah.
It'll kind of give us a good idea where O'Malley is at.
Mhm.
I think I would probably favor O'Malley in that fight still. I think he would keep Font in range for the most part. I think it would be a tough fight for him. I think he will get hit a lot more than he usually does. But I think ultimately O'Malley would land better power shots like Chito Vera did
I think so
in
too.
the fights. So I would probably favor O'Malley. But yeah, it's just an unfortunate situation, you know, because if O'Malley, I mean, I think even if he won the fight, like even if the fight went through, he went to number 9 or it was number 9, right?
I think that he was like 11 or I think he was 13 in this last fight.
What was no, I mean what was
9.
Pedro Moon? Yeah. So Pedro was 9, so O'Malley would have went to number 9. So I think he probably still would have fought Rob Font. So I think either way that would just be the direction that they would go. But still it's just unfortunate. I feel bad for O'Malley, but hopefully it gives him motivation for the next fight, I guess, you know.
That's one of the things. Like he obviously wants to be a big star, but when we saw guys like Connor come through the ranks, like a lot of guys that really skyrocket through the ranks, they're fighting pretty often.
4 times a year.
Exactly. Israel Adesanya, bro, he fought like 5 times in 1 year before he got his belt. Like, I don't know. I know that O'Malley is not the most, durable guy. I mean, he gets injured a lot. He breaks his hands.
Yeah.
He
comes in with injuries. Yeah.
Exactly. So I wouldn't be surprised if he picked up a little injury in that Pedro fight. Maybe who knows, bro. But I mean, it didn't look like there was that much damage. Like as a fan, get back in there. You know what I mean? Come on.
Give it 2 weeks and then just get back in the training camp.
I know. I mean, listen, if O'Malley, he's just had a good training camp. He hardly took any damage. I mean, we were both watching the fight. It was slow. If that went to a decision and O'Malley won, I'm just going to say it. He would have got shit. And this is unfortunate. He would have got shit, but we also would have recognized that, you know what, maybe he isn't the same level. But at the same time, if that fight continued and Pedro's eye kept bothering him, O'Malley could have fucking knocked him out.
Exactly. I mean, personally, I think O'Malley was really starting to turn it up in the second round. And I think he was going in the way of eventually getting a knockout. So I think it probably would have been a lot better if the fight continued. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think the decision win would have happened.
Yeah.
So I think that's really unfortunate. And I mean, I think a win like that would give a fighter a lot of confidence. So I think this kind of was just a tough situation. I mean, you kind of just have to, like, I guess, like I said, use it as motivation.
Okay, so let me just head it back to the main because I want to touch on what you said earlier. So Adesanya, Jared Cannonier, I picked this to go by decision. I picked Adesanya to win, and he won 4 rounds to 1. Pretty much every round that he won was pretty clear. The third round was the one where I think Cannonier edged it. But listen, I've been watching Adesanya for basically his whole career in MMA, in the UFC at least. And I just want to say that I think that Adesanya right now is probably the most boring champion in men's MMA. Now, some of you guys that are watching this are gonna say Aljamain Sterling this, Aljamain Sterling that. Aljamain had one boring sleeper fight with Petr Yan. Before that, Aljamain had all entertaining fights. Now, Adesanya, since becoming champion, okay, he's had the fight with all of his title defenses. Yoel Romero, one of the most boring fights I've ever seen. Okay. Then we had Costa. Okay. Costa was fucking really entertaining. Okay. So that's one entertaining fight, one boring fight. Jan Blachowicz beat Izzy. It was interesting because he was getting beat, but that was a slow fight. Then the Vettori fight. I fell asleep during the Vettori fight. I literally fell asleep during the end of that fight.
Such a bad fight. Then
Whitaker. Okay, that was interesting because it was very close and Whitaker was winning rounds, but slow fight. The Cannonier fight. I literally fell asleep. So here's the thing. as a man who knows fully well that it's important to be successful, to get as much money as you can possibly get, to become as powerful as you can be, to be as high up in this world as you can be. And as a champion, you make twice as much money if you win. So if Adesanya is getting paid $1 million to show, he's getting paid $1 million to win. If I was Adesanya, I would have even more boring fights. You know what? I would say, fuck these people. I'm on the contract. I'm getting paid this much regardless of who shows up. I'm going to have a boring fight. I'm just going to win. And that's what's impressive. So I'm going to give Adesanya his due. He's extremely impressive because there aren't many fighters in the UFC that could just go out there and win fairly easily. And even if it's boring, they can pretty much secure a win like it's nothing. That's impressive to me. Adesanya is a beast. He's technical. His striking is amazing. The way he can keep distance. I mean, listen, like, let's be honest. The guy's Cannonier, he landed some good shots, but there ain't no fucking way Cannonier would have won that fight. Even if he tried, Adesanya would have skirted out the way. Now, here's what I have to say, though. Just because I respect the fact that Adesanya is going in and winning the fights, even if they're boring, and taking the extra $1 million, I respect that fully. If I was him, I'd do the same thing. However, as a fan, I'm not going to sit here and act like that's something I look up to. Listen, I can't fake falling asleep. I can't lie and say that shit was entertaining because it was technical. If it literally puts me to sleep, I don't like it as a fan. So on one hand, Adesanya is boring as fuck in the cage 99% of the time these days. And on the other hand, I respect it because he's winning and that makes him really good. But this is not, I know you said that you think it'd be fine for him to be in the main event. Now listen, this whole card was basically, in my mind, Adesanya's last big chance. Because what they did is they said, listen, Adesanya, we're going to stack the card. We're going to put Holloway and Volk on it. We're going to put O'Malley on it. We're going to put Strickland and Pereira on it. We're going to make the prelims stacked. And you finally have the chance to just perform. We're gonna stack the card so that tons of people can watch you perform. And he didn't fucking put on the performance that's gonna make a fan, like a casual fan, want to tune into again. If you had a casual fan watching that, they're probably not gonna want to watch Adesanya again.
Like, who's this Izzy guy? He's boring,
Exactly. That's the thing. It's like they hear him, I'm gonna show off. I'm gonna come in there, I'm gonna fuck him up. And then that's what happens. It's like, listen, I'm always going to watch Izzy fight because, I'm going to watch a championship fight. Yeah. And Adesanya is fucking fantastic. But it's boring. It put me to sleep. And listen, if Adesanya were to fight, for example, let's say Volkanovski moves up and fights Oliveira, dude, I don't think Adesanya can really fucking keep main eventing these pay-per-views. And because I just don't think, listen, unless the card is incredibly stacked, if you keep him in the main event, people are going to leave the stadium. They're going to turn off the fucking pay-per-view. And I just think that, I'd rather have Volkanovski and Oliveira main event. At least I'll stay awake for the whole night, So
even if it's like 2 minutes, you'll still be awake for it. Be the best 2 minutes, Yeah. I didn't really think of it that way, that they really stacked the card. Like with Holloway, Sean O'Malley, Sean Strickland, great prelims, and just giving Izzy one more chance. But now that now that you brought that point, that was definitely the goal, and I think it's just
because before that, you have to remember he's had so many sleeper fights. They're like, "Oh, we're gonna take the pressure off you a little bit. We're gonna fucking stack the card. Okay, we're gonna make sure a lot of people watch because if we don't stack the card, people are probably not gonna want to tune in." And this is what happens.
Yeah, I think it's tricky because next fight, it looks like it's going to be Alex Pereira, which I do think is going to be an interesting fight.
Oh, yeah.
But you still, just for the casual viewers, I think you can't make him the main event. I just think you just can't. You just, like you said, maybe put Volk and Charles.
Because that's going to be a fucking banger, bro. Charles
that will for sure be
it's impossible for him to have a boring fight.
Did you know something? Guess what the most viewed main event was? Most bought pay-per-view of 2022.
2022. That's got to be Charles and Gagey.
That's what it was. But to me, that's interesting because
people know, bro. It's gonna be, and it wasn't even that stacked of a card.
No, and it was just Charles and Gaethje, and I mean I don't really remember the other people, but
well, Ferguson and Chandler were on it. That was, but other than that, bro, we also had the most boring fight of all time the same night.
Exactly. Like people aren't tuning in for that.
Nah.
But like I just think it's kind of, that was just kind of crazy to me to think about, because there was the big heavyweight fight, Cyril Gane versus Francis. There was the Israel Adesanya Whitaker too, which is big event, and there's the Masvidal Colby.
Yeah.
Like, to me, that event was also, there was the Volk versus Korean Zombie with Peter Yan.
That was a good.
That was a stacked card. And still, Oliveira Gaethje was still number one. So like, it just shows like people want to see Oliveira. People are tuning in to see Oliveira. And I think like if it's Volk versus Oliveira, then there's Pereira, and then Adesanya. You have to put Volk
in the main
event, so that at least people like, if the fight with Adesanya is boring, they still will have something to look forward to, you know?
Exactly. See, that's the thing. It's like, there's two things that I want to say. Number one is, I understand why the UFC has put so much promotion into Izzy, and that's because the way he came up. When Israel Adesanya was coming up, all the way up until he fought Yoel Romero, and he had the good fight with Costa, but like, bro, he was so entertaining back then, and he was destroying Brunson. He had that iconic fight with Anderson Silva. Then he had the knockout over Whitaker, the shitty fight with Yoel, but he bounced back with a sick fight over Costa. But like, ever since then, man, like, it's just been nothing but slow fights. Even again, the Yan fight, which I appreciated, but there's too many of them, bro. There's too many. And I literally have his last three fights, strip the names, strip it from being Whitaker, because that was a close fight. They're all boring. They're all slow fights. And I'm a fan of technicality. I like technical fights. The Whitaker fight, that was actually good to watch, as it was a chess match. But the Vettori fight and the Cannonier fight, given that they were one-sided, those were just so, because when Israel Adesanya wants to go in and have a one-sided fight, as I said, the fact that he's capable of just winning pretty handily is amazing. But when he does it, it's just so fucking hard to watch. And that's why, I understand that they've paid him all this money, but bro, fans don't care. Put him in the co-main event and give us a sick main event. That's what I want.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, also, like, we sometimes got to picture it at like what the casual fan thinks. You know what I mean? Because like, if we're watching a fight, even if it's like a lot of people hate on wrestling, but if it's a grappling match, I'm sure we would both find it pretty entertaining either way, just because of the technicalness. But just for the regular casual fan, which is most of the fans in reality, like, nobody wants to see these snooze fests.
Nah.
So I just think
Adesanya stand outside of range, leg kicking, landing a jab every 3 minutes. Nah.
Yeah, and also I just think that that like, we keep waiting for him to have this big knockout again, and like, like, even the last Whitaker fight, I was expecting him to, like, because when it's usually the second time of the fight. Yeah, I thought he would finish him in like in a Costa fashion. And then we were like, okay, like, that didn't happen. Whitaker got better or whatever.
Yeah.
We're like, okay, Cannonier, this has to be the one. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's not, I mean, all respect to Cannonier, but he's not one of the better people Izzy's fought.
Nah.
So I was like, okay, like, this should be, and Izzy's all talking about, oh, I'm going to show off, all that stuff. Like, Pereira was on the card, so we figured, like, Izzy will want to show him something, you know what I'm saying? And to show the people something.
Right.
And it just was nothing more than his usual fights. And like to us, like, it was still interesting to see, but it's just unfortunate. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, bro. I was not interested past the second round. I knew what it was gonna be. I predicted it to be a slow fight. That's what happened. But bro, I literally fell asleep. I was trying to stay awake and I just couldn't do it. So, here's the thing about Pereira. Pereira's already beat Adesanya twice. I know they had a fight, and it was one of them was up for debate, but he got knocked out cold by Pereira.
And that was on 1 week notice.
1 week.
I don't know if you knew that, but it was on 1 week notice.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, bro, Pereira. We know here. What we know is this: Adesanya. Remember, he moved up to fight a guy, Blachowicz, who was, you know, the height became more similar, the reach became more similar, and he was getting outstruck. He was getting out jabbed against the guy who was similar size to him, who also has decent striking. You could still say Adesanya is maybe the more technical striker, but he basically got outstruck by Blachowicz, who's a similar size. So we know that Adesanya, when he goes to face someone who's a similar height, similar size, the gap is going to close a little bit. And if fucking Pereira can land some of the shots that Cannonier landed, I mean, dude, stone hands Pereira, that's what Poetan means, stone hands, heavy hands. So if he lands one of those shots that Cannonier landed,
he's going out.
He's going out. And that's why
the 4-ounce gloves too. Like,
yeah, exactly. And the thing is, bro, Pereira is super composed in the cage. He does not strike me as a guy who's going to get emotional. He's a stone-faced killer in there, and he's cold as ice. And I could see Adesanya getting worked up. I mean, he's going to go into the cage with a guy that's knocked him out, that's chased him all over the world just to find his ass again in the cage, you know? And here's the thing. I could see Adesanya winning that, but bro, it's just going to be more interesting. And I think that, you know, it may not be who knows, Adesanya could fucking find a way to leg kick him at range for 3 rounds too, for 5 rounds as well. That's possible. But if Pereira's tough, he has a chin. I don't think Adesanya is putting any guys out these days. His power's not really there. You know, unless he hops on the juice, I don't think we're gonna see it, bro. But you know, I'd love to see that fight. I'm gonna pick Pereira right now because again, he can land that left hook, and you know, I don't care how tough you are, bro. If that left hook gets landed, you know, Sean Strickland's tough and durable.
He's never been knocked out. I don't even know if he's ever been knocked out, right? I don't think he's ever been gotten knocked out. No, I
don't know. I think I think Kamaru Usman TKO'd him on the ground, but I don't think he's ever been.
But not knocked out, like out cold. Like that was
bro. That dude. I knew that there was a chance that Strickland would get KO'd if he. I said if Strickland tried to stand with him, he's probably going to get KO'd. But again, just seeing it happen was so different because, dude, we're used to seeing Strickland, you know, be that guy that can talk shit, that can bring guys down to his level in the cage, you know, that has great defense. But again, bro, that just goes to show if you get hit by Pereira, it's like Ngannou, but for middleweight. Like you get hit by him, you're fucked. Like
nothing you can do.
Exactly.
Nothing you can do. I think Pereira Strickland going into that fight, he was planning on just like feeling him out a little bit and being like, okay, like if he lands like something hard, that's when I'm gonna go to the wrestling. And then then like so he's feeling him out, whatever. And I don't think he like, and then it's the thing that was hard ended up putting him out.
Yeah.
So I think I mean, a lot of people were like saying that his game plan was horrible, and I do think it was not the right game.
He was like parrying jabs. Here's the thing. I feel like, dude, the guy was just walking in like this. Like he was just straight up, hands down, walking in against a guy
trying to parry him.
Huge long reach
punches.
I mean, listen, I understand I think that was his game plan. Because he said leading up to an interview, he was like, you know, but if I get rocked, I'll probably shoot for a takedown.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
I think he should have been shooting right off the bat because Andreas Michailidis, which was Pereira's first fight in the UFC, the guy he knocked out with a flying knee in the first round, that Andreas Michailidis, who's not as good of a grappler as Sean Strickland, took him down fairly easily and controlled him on the ground. I think that Sean Strickland should have just completely let go of this machismo mindset and just fucking went in there and right off the bat shot for his legs because, dude, that's the way you're going to beat this guy. Unless you're Adesanya's level, like you can't stand with this guy. You don't have a chance standing with him. And we learned that. And I believe that if Strickland got him down, you know, I think he would have fucked him up and submitted him. But that's the thing. It's like he stood with him for too long. Yes, I think he was trying to feel him out, but bro, you can't even feel this guy out. Like there's nothing for you to feel out on the feet. You're done if you stand with him and you're not Adesanya's level. If you're standing with this guy, you better at least have the ability of another guy who's a kickboxing world champion. Otherwise, you can't stand with him. I don't even think Whitaker, who's also, in my mind, Whitaker's one of the best strikers in the UFC. Dude, he couldn't. I don't think he could stand with him.
No, I don't think so. I think Strickland just really like he didn't underestimate him, but he underestimated him. You know what I mean? Like he thought he expected him to be legit, like a legit kickboxer, but I don't think he expected him to like at any given moment just put his lights out. You know what I'm
that's
saying?
the thing. Like Strickland is notorious for sparring a lot in the gym and being one of these guys that always wants to fight. And if you watch his other fights, like he actually has really good boxing defense, and that's attributed to the fact that he's always sparring. He's so used to being in a situation where he's dodging shots and all that. But again, bro, like I think that gives him a little bit too much confidence. And this is the first time that Strickland's really faced a guy who's got a seriously high level of striking. You know, we've seen Strickland outstrike Uriah Hall. We've seen Strickland outstrike Jack Hermanson. Those, you know, Uriah Hall's flashy, but he's not the best technical striker. He's not the most effective striker. And Jack Hermanson is not a great striker.
No.
That's what happens. Listen, I'd like to see Strickland and Cannonier fight. That's what I want to see.
That's what I would like to see also.
That'd be a good fight. Yeah.
I think like that's kind of just like get one of them out. You know what I'm saying? Like get one of those guys. They're getting older in age. Strickland is probably 34.
Cannonier's like
38. Like you want to get one of those guys out, like of at least the top of the contenders. So what better way than both fighting against each other, you know? And I don't know who I would favor in that fight. I think it would be tough to say, and I think I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I would have to. Yeah, I don't know. I would maybe Cannonier, I guess.
I think, dude, I honestly might favor Cannonier because he's got great takedown defense. I don't know, bro. I think I might favor Cannonier. It's tough.
It's tough though, because especially after seeing what we saw to Strickland, like that's gonna hurt his confidence. You know what I'm saying? And Cannonier still has a lot of power. You know what I mean? So he's still gonna like be like, okay, like I just got knocked out. Like I'm gonna have to be a little cautious against this guy too. So that's a trick. That's a tough fight to call, but I would probably still favor Cannonier. So
let me ask you, number one, when do you think the Adesanya Pereira fight's going to happen? And also, I like how Adesanya is pretty open, like willing to do it. However, do you think that Adesanya is like shitting his pants after seeing what just happened to Strickland, knowing that his next opponent is the guy that knocked him out?
I think November would probably be when it happens. I mean, neither of them took much damage. So in my eyes, it should be in October, but in reality, that's not going to happen likely. So I think November lines up with a bunch of other fighters. So I think November, and I think Izzy is definitely scared. And I think that's part of the reason why he ended up, I think, doing more of that boring fight was because he was scared. He was just trying to I guess Pereira was just on his mind the whole time. So I do think that was part of the reason why he didn't really he probably let's say Strickland won by decision. He would be a lot more like loose going into the other fight, and I think he would just be put on a show, like you said. But I think because he was like really anxious and stuff, and he was like, it's like, oh shit, like I have a guy in front of me also. So he was like, okay, like I gotta just win this fight. You know what I'm saying? But yeah.
One thing I want to say is, bro, I feel like Pereira is the kind of guy that could beat Izzy, become champion, be really entertaining, but then lose to a guy like Hermanson or whatever because they could just fucking grapple with them.
Yeah.
Like that's how weird it is, bro. Like, who knows if Pereira's takedown defense is anywhere near the same level of Izzy's?
It's definitely not. It's definitely not. No.
But it's just weird how he can become champion. Like, I think Whitaker would have fucking beat Pereira. I think he would have wrestled him, and you know, good luck. You know, Whitaker's one of the best wrestlers in the middleweight division.
And he could strike still.
He can still strike, so he's aware on the feet. I just think that I think it's great that we're gonna see that because, bro, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I would want to see Pereira win because I know if he wins, it's gonna be fucking entertaining. I know if Adesanya wins, it's gonna be boring. So listen, if Adesanya beats Pereira, I think he could just continue to defend and become the greatest middleweight of all time because, like, bro, I don't see, unless Whitaker fights him again, I don't see, or Pereira, those are the only guys I see possibly beating him. So let's talk about some other things. So who in your mind was the breakout fighter of the night?
So I think this was a tough one, but I would give it to Ian Garry.
I would agree.
I think he, like, even though he didn't get a knockout, I think it was almost like he showed more. Maybe he pretty much showed 3 rounds of just like really nice, smooth striking. He showed ring IQ. He showed composure. Yeah, and it was just very impressive. You know, he even showed a little bit of grappling and like a little bit of clinch work. And I just think he was very impressive. And at 24, like this guy's ceiling, like this guy doesn't have a ceiling. You know what I mean? Like who knows? Like who knows where he can be in the next few years? So
I wonder how he's gonna stack up against guys like Shavkat or Hamzat. See, that's the thing. It's like he's got so much potential, but MMA keeps evolving, and you know, you have a guy like Ian Garry. You know, without Shavkat or Hamzat in that division, it looks like, oh my God, this guy, you know,
future.
This guy's probably the next champ. But dude, it's fucking, you know, MMA, bro. As soon as you got a guy who's looking great, there are some other monsters in the division with him. So, for example, do you think that he's going to be able, because, you know, he's obviously not from that side of the world. He's not, you know, with that, he doesn't have that Eastern European grappling that fucking, or I'm sorry, the Dagestani, Chechnyan grappling or the Kazakhstani wrestling, bro. So I don't know how he stacks up against those guys.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think he does, at least at this point. You know what I'm saying? Like those guys just seem like they're for sure going to be the top guys. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't see anybody in that division beating Khamzat anytime soon. And that's who I think is going to be the next champion. So
I think so too.
Yeah, and so I don't know. I mean, Ian Garry, I think will definitely be a contender. I think probably should fight two more like guys, fight against 2 more guys outside the rankings.
Yeah.
And then start getting into the rankings. Except maybe like by the time he is like coming up, Khamzat will already have defended his belt a few times, I guess. So I think that would be maybe the game plan for the UFC. But
they also didn't give him an interview, and I know that Ian Garry is really big on trying to get on the mic. He's always talking big game, like, you know, he's the next big star. I don't see it. Listen, I know he's loud, he's cocky, but dude, you're like, he's fucking great. He's fantastic. But when it comes to being a huge star, like, he's not the best on the mic. He hypes himself up a lot, but he's really not that great on the mic. He's not like, his fucking interviews are not going to go that viral. Because he's also not that aggressive. He's really full of himself, which is all good. That's great. But dude, he's not knocking guys out. And I know, like, as a fan, it is what it is. He puts on good fights. I love seeing his fights. But if you want to become the biggest star, if you're outside of the rankings, you should at least be knocking dudes out if you want to become the biggest star. So I don't think he's going to be a massive star, but I did think it was interesting how they didn't give him an interview. I think they should have gave him an interview.
I actually didn't notice that until you said that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good point, because I remember at UFC 268, he had the knockout, the pretty nice knockout, very nice knockout. Then he was on the mic, and he was like, he said like a McGregor reference or something, and like, I mean, yeah, that's cool, but like it's kind of quirky, and like, you know, like it's like not original.
There won't be another McGregor, bro. I know he's Irish. But
they're not this. McGregor was knocking people out at this point. That's all we have to say.
Literally knocking everyone out. Ian Garry has 1 knockout in the UFC, but since then he's got 2 decisions. And listen, again, he's had good fights. They're great fights. But I'm just saying, if you want to be like the guy, you can't just be getting decisions outside the rankings. You have to be knocking dudes out. But also, like, here's another thing, bro. One of the things that made McGregor is he just had a fucking... Dude, he came in talking loads of shit. He came in knowing he was the best. He had a massive chip on his shoulder. Ian Garry strikes me as the guy that's like, you know, always been the fucking talent guy, like the most talented guy in the room and all that. McGregor strikes me as the guy who was like, you know, an absolute workhorse, just brutal, hard work, you know, and that gave him confidence. Where Ian Garry, he strikes me as the guy that's just has all of the talent in the world, recognizes that, is really happy about it. But like, bro, he doesn't have that.
Doesn't have something to prove. Doesn't have something that.
Exactly. I don't, and that doesn't, and that also is why it doesn't translate this personality. Listen, if you want to be a fighter, you have to be, if you want to be a big star as a fighter, you have to have somewhat of a darkness to you. And I just don't see that in Ian Garry. And I don't think he's going to be a huge star because of it. You know, think about the biggest stars, Covington, you know, McGregor, even Adesanya is fucking,
George Masvidal.
George Masvidal. Exactly. Like, I don't know, man. I think Ian Garry's, he'll be good, but I just don't see him becoming a massive star. Maybe they'll get him to fight in Dublin sometime. That'd be cool. But let me ask you another question. So Dana White not going to the events, bro, like it's starting to piss me off. Now I know that he's sold a lot of his shares in the UFC. He's got tons of money and he's enjoying his life. He's taking vacations, but I mean, you couldn't even be there for the biggest fucking event of the year. It's kind of sad because I like seeing Dana White around. He's got a great personality. He's a great promoter of the fight. And now we have John Anik at the press conferences. We're not getting.
It's not the same. It's not the same.
It sucks. I'm not gonna lie. I don't like to see it, but it is what it is. It's kind of sad.
Yeah, I think I think it's more like a few weeks ago he said it was his son's birthday weekend.
Yeah,
that's fair, but I just think like you said, biggest fight card of the year, undisputed. Like you should at least be there. I think he's just trying to like. I mean, I think he's always going to still be involved in UFC, but I just think he's trying to like be less and less.
Yeah,
and then like, just yeah. So yeah, and it's just like in terms of the press conference, like, and like the face-offs, like the intent when Dana's there, you just like. His presence is just like you just feel it. You know what I'm saying? And
right.
it's just unfortunate. Also, so many of like the legendary moments. Also, when they ask Dana White questions, it's like sometimes it's like kind of funny, you know? His answers. Yeah, and also his post fight, like whenever he goes over stuff post fights, like that's always I always look forward to listening to that. So and there's just none of that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So. Yeah, I think that was just very confusing. Like 275 understood it, but 276 made a card like this did not get it. I mean, will he just be here for McGregor cards? I guess. Like
I bet he definitely will be there for McGregor cards because that'll definitely add a lot to it. But it's clear that at this point he's in a way riding off into the sunset, and I hope they find a replacement because, bro, like you kind of need a Dana White. I mean, Dana White is big for the business. People love hearing him speak post-fight press conferences. People love hearing him. So I wish he would show up more, but I don't blame him, bro. He's enjoying his life. So another thing that we should get into is the Volkanovski and the GOAT discussion for featherweight. Now, there is still the argument that, you know, Jose Aldo is the featherweight GOAT. And I understand it because he was undefeated for 11 years. He had 8 title defenses, which is a lot. But at the same time, if you look at Jose Aldo's title reign, a lot of his fights were razor close decisions, right? He wasn't dominating that many guys. He dominated a few guys, but Jose Aldo, even since getting knocked out by McGregor, even since getting knocked out twice by Holloway, and since getting beaten by Volkanovski in 3 rounds, he's gone on to compete in a title fight with Petr Yan, who's one of the best fighters in the world today. And then he's knocking on another title shot these days in the bantamweight division. I mean, in my opinion, Jose Aldo could beat Aljamain Sterling because he's got phenomenal anti-wrestling. He's one of the best defensive wrestlers in UFC history. So listen, you have a guy like Jose Aldo who is in one of the best divisions on earth right now in the bantamweight division, still kicking ass and doing really well. Like, you can't really use the argument that he wasn't in his prime when he fought McGregor, when he fought Volkanovski, when he fought Holloway. Like, bro, if he was trash now, if he was losing every other fight, I could understand saying he's past his prime.
But he's winning.
He's still fucking killing it. He's still one of the best fighters on earth. He just got beat by guys that were better. And you know what? If there are 3 guys that decisively beat you during your championship reign, I don't see how you're the best featherweight of all time, you know, especially when you're basically still as good as you were when you were champ, if not even better. He got beat by Volkanovski for 3 rounds, knocked out by Holloway twice, knocked out by Connor. Dude, Volkanovski hasn't had a single fight like that. His closest fight in the UFC was with Max in the second fight, but he's dominated Max Holloway twice now. That's 2 fights against Max Holloway where he's won every single round. He's destroyed Ortega, knocked out the Korean Zombie, made him look like easy work, knocked out Chad Mendes. He already beat Aldo. In my opinion, it's clear, like, I know he doesn't have the same fucking accolades as far as defenses goes, but he's clearly the best featherweight ever, without a doubt.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. I think the thing also about Aldo was that he came into the UFC as a champion.
Yeah.
Like into the featherweight division. Like, so like he didn't have to fight for the belt in the UFC.
Yeah.
Still no discredit to him, but like he defended 8 times. And then he fought McGregor, got knocked out, obviously. Then he fought Holloway, lost twice. And then also lost to Volk. I don't understand how you could call someone a GOAT who's lost to all the other guys who are considered in the discussion.
Yeah.
There's never been a guy like why is he, you know what I'm saying? There's no reason for him. In my eyes, like, much respect to Aldo, but he should even be behind him, Max, and both of them, Max and Volk.
It's like GSP. If GSP was still in the middle of his championship reign, and let's say he got beat by 3 other guys in that same division,
like Usman or something,
and then he goes on into another division and just completely dominates and becomes champ, bro. Like, he clearly was not the fucking GOAT of the division where he got beat in his prime. That's my argument. Like, Jose Aldo was beat in his prime, and I just believe that straight up Jose Aldo is still, in a way, just as good as he's always been. Like, there's no, I don't like the argument that he's not the same anymore. Like, why? Because the competition got better. That's the only fucking reason why.
He's still beating guys who are in the top 10. You know, like if he was washed, he wouldn't be.
Competitive fight with Petr Yan up until the end, but still, he's still good, man. Volk is just better, and Holloway is obviously the fact that Volkanovski just dominated Max Holloway without even using leg kicks, just straight up fucking dominating him on the feet with the hands for 5 rounds. We know how good Holloway is. Holloway is one of the fucking best featherweights of all time. Like, dude,
one of the best boxers of all time. Considered one of the best boxers in UFC, and he dominated him at his own game. You know what I'm saying?
Holloway, bro. So, like, dude, like,
and with a broken hand too. I don't know if you saw that, but he broke his hand in the second round. I know these guys are warriors, but like, still, that has to like factor like how you fight a bit, and he still dominated him.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of people saying like Holloway's out of his prime. What do they like? He just beat 2 amazing opponents and had like great outings against them.
Yeah.
And then he just loses to a better fighter who literally, by the way, is coming off a fight a few months ago.
Yeah.
Like Volk fought like 3 months ago, went right into another training camp.
Exactly, bro. Bro, I like the fact that Volk is active. Another thing that I like about Volk is, dude, he seems to have a chip on his shoulder. Like, the short man
trying to prove
shit
something,
is probably real, because, dude, this guy's always been the short dude on the rugby team. When he played rugby, he was always a short guy. Like, he's got a fucking point to prove. And that's why this guy is he's such a hard worker. And that's what I like about Volk, is he makes so many improvements. He's better in this last fight than he was in the first fight with Holloway. He's better in this last fight than he was in his last few fights. The guy just keeps getting better. That's why I think that if he moves up, you know, as we know, when guys move up, they're going to have the speed advantage usually.
For sure,
the one thing that's tricky if he moves up is he's going to be against the best grapplers in the world that are bigger. Now, when it comes to size and grappling, if you have a guy that's bigger than you, like Oliveira, or bigger than you, like Makhachev, if they get you down, like, it's very dangerous. It's going to be hard to get up. I know Volkanovski's a powerhouse. He's big, he's strong, but still. Here's what I am going to say. If he keeps it standing, I know that Oliveira's got tons of power for lightweight. I know he's a great striker, but bro, I don't see anyone at lightweight outstriking Volkanovski. Volkanovski, the way that dude, in my opinion, he's like skill for skill. He's the best fighter in the UFC right now. Like, especially striking, dude. He's so fast. He's so technical. He's so skillful. I think that if he could keep fights standing up at lightweight, if he moves up, no one's beating him. But that's the thing. It's like if Oliveira can find a grappling exchange, I think Oliveira is a better grappler, a better submission artist than Ortega, and he's bigger.
Yeah,
I could see him beating Volk. For me, that's a 50-50 fight. That's like I can't even lean towards Volk, but I can't lean towards Oliveira. That's 50-50 for me. No, let me ask you a question. So people are saying that, Volkanovski shouldn't get the title shot. It should be Islam. Islam has deserved it. So here's my thing. Like Volkanovski, do you think that he deserves it more than Oliveira? Oliveira is coming off a win against Bobby Green. Volkanovski's coming off of 5 defenses now. 4 defenses now. But
I think it's ridiculous. I think the logic is ridiculous. I think, look, Islam is obviously, we all know he's legit. But if you give a guy who just beat Bobby Green after on a week notice a title shot, it diminishes the value of the division that is the lightweight division that's considered the best division. Yeah. So I think Volk is way more deserving. He's defended the title 4 times, right? 5 times. Yeah. He defended it 4 times, beat the considered the best striker in the UFC by many people, best boxer. He defeated him super easily. I think you got to give him the title shot. Nobody is more well deserving than Volk. So, and I think you have Islam fight Dariush, everybody's that Dana White's originally wanted. Have him fight Dariush maybe in October, November. Dariush seems to need a little bit more time. Have them fight even on the same card. You could even have them on the same card. I think that would be interesting. Have them fight. They fight whoever wins the Volk versus Charles fight.
Yeah,
and then you have it. Yeah.
So one of the things I like about the lightweight division is there's 3 options for a title shot. One is Islam, one is Volk, and then the other is Conor. They're all big fights, which is what I like. I think they're all going to do well. I know that Charles wants Conor, and who wouldn't? That's the biggest payday. And, that's probably the easiest fight that there is. But, dude, I don't think that's going to happen. I just don't see Conor getting the title shot. I honestly, I don't even want to see it because I don't think Conor wins that fight at all. So, to be honest, man, I want to see the Makhachev fight, but I also want to see Volk get the title shot. To be honest, if Volk and Charles fought, I'd be torn because I like both of those guys. I wouldn't want either of them to lose. But if he fought Makhachev, I want Islam to beat him, just so we know that Islam. I think Islam could possibly beat Makhachev. I think, who knows, maybe he can knock him out because I don't see him being worried about the grappling threat or the threat of the takedown. So, yeah. Another thing.
I think that back to so Charles versus Islam. I think I would want Charles to win because I think that continues the narrative of who would win, Khabib or Charles.
Yeah.
And I think that even though it's not going to happen, but just to have that thought, just being who would have won, that discussion would be super interesting, Yeah. And I mean, Charles, just in my opinion, the most entertaining fighter right now. So more chances to see him fight top guys. That's awesome.
I like Charles as champ, and it still pisses me off that he got stripped of his belt. Everyone knows he's the real champ, but again, the fact that this dude literally is technically not the champion, it really sucks and it pisses me off.
I want him 0.5 pounds.
I know, man. It's ridiculous. I think he got fucked over too. So, what do you think about Nate Diaz smacking up the reporter?
He can't beat anybody in the octagon, so he just goes after reporters, I guess. Yeah. I don't know. I don't really know the context behind it, but I think that's just a regular person. They're just trying to do their job. I
saw the video. I mean, dude, I kind of thought it was funny. I think that this reporter had no idea that he was about to get smacked. But when I was watching it, I was like, yeah, of course you're this is Nate Diaz. This is what he does. Smacks dudes up for the littlest inconvenience. I just think it's funny, bro. But you're right.
It's funny, but I just think that it's just dude, you're a fighter. Just beat someone in the cage. You know what I mean? Don't pick on people who are just regular people. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I mean, it was funny, like, the Stockton slap, but I don't know. Not the best look for him, I guess. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know if Nate Diaz is gonna fight him. I just want to see him fight Jake Paul, bro. I think that'd be a
Jake
great
Paul.
fight. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
I don't know if you've been following that, but Jake Paul was supposed to fight a guy named Tommy Fury, Tyson
Tommy
Fury's
Fury, yeah.
brother.
But
Apparently
something
there's having,
was
yeah.
Fiziev.
So what if Nate Diaz slides right in there? Who knows?
I see that. I mean, here's the thing: like Jake Paul, like it kind of pisses me off because he's not fighting anyone that's his size. He's fighting guys that are at the 170-pound division. Jake Paul, if he was in the
Big
UFC, he'd
guy.
be fighting at middleweight, bro. Like
For sure. For
I don't
sure.
like that he's picking on these smaller guys. And I think that again, like at least fight someone that's around your size, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, so Tommy Fury, like, is similar size to Jake Paul, maybe even bigger. So I think that fight made a lot of sense because it gives the fighting a real boxer narrative. That's what it is. Even though Tommy Fury isn't really a great boxer at all, he's
Yeah.
just he's more of like a reality star who's a brother of the heavyweight champ.
Tyson, yeah.
So, but it still like would give him some respect if he would go out there and knock him out. So I think that's a little unfortunate that that won't happen. But at the same time, a fight with Nate Diaz would sell a ton of pay-per-view. The
Yeah.
press conference would be hilarious. I mean, I think a lot of people would probably pick Jake, but I still think people would tune in because it's a Nate Diaz fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like people, when he fought Leon Edwards, nobody thought he was going to win. People still tuned in.
Yeah, man. Again, like I wouldn't be that surprised if listen, I would pick Jake, but I wouldn't be surprised if Diaz won. Now, here's the thing. Jake Paul could say, okay, guys, this is gonna be a 5-round fight. And then like the gas tank, getting tired, all that goes out the window. I don't see him having like a 10-rounder with Nate Diaz, because then I might pick Nate
No,
Diaz.
no.
Because
Oh,
Nate
for
Diaz,
for sure, for sure.
yeah, that's the thing about Jake Paul is he has so much control. I mean, I'd like to see Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury. Also, Tommy Fury's dad said that he would disown him if he lost to Jake Paul. He said to Fury, he's
Did
not going to lose to Jake Paul, and if he
that
does,
is
not
funny.
my son anymore. So, like, dude, imagine how much pressure he has from his own family that's saying, like, dude, you're disowned if you lose to this guy. That's a lot of
And
pressure.
that he's a YouTuber, all that stuff. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's. Do you think that has to do with why he pulled out in December,
I
and
mean,
then
it's pretty
why he?
sketchy, man. Like, it's pretty sketchy. I mean, you're a big star. Jake Paul could make some moves. He could pull strings. Like, dude, how hard is it to show up to the fucking fight? It's a big fight.
Exactly.
There's money to be made. Show up to the fight, man. Let's see it. I want to see
So
it August 6th.
you're a fighter. He broke a rib or something. Like
Mhm.
fighters go into fights with way worse stuff than that. Like it's your biggest payday of ever. Like you got to do it. They were offering him 2 million for a fight. Like he's not gonna make that money for his first 20 UFC. No, first 20 boxing fights.
Yeah.
Like it's in my eyes. Like even though there's a lot of pressure, if you really believe in your skill, like which he says he does, like then show it. Like
Yep.
I
I
don't
agree.
know.
So before we end the podcast, let's just get into this upcoming main event. So
Hmm.
Rafael Fiziev, RDA. First thing I want to say is this fight night card is absolute garbage. This is probably one of the worst fight night cards of the year. It's garbage. It's trash. I don't care what anyone says. Like it's a disgrace because no one's gonna give a fuck about this fight night card. But the main event is pretty sick. And I am probably gonna go with Fiziev because if Fiziev could listen, the way that RDA fights is he's very tight, he's hunched over, right? He's gonna strike with Fiziev, and that's Fiziev's game. Fiziev is a tight Muay Thai kickboxer who's got lots of power, and he's more technical, he's faster, he's more explosive than RDA, and he's got pretty good defensive grappling. And unless you're a big, taller guy, maybe like a Jalen Turner or a guy that's, an absolute stud when it comes to the grappling, I just don't see you winning that fight. So I'm going to pick Fiziev, and I'm going to pick Fiziev I might even go by decision or maybe just TKO. I think he might TKO RDA. I know RDA just came in off of a good performance against Moicano, but I'm gonna pick Viziev.
I also got Fiziev. He he's on the rise.
Yeah.
RDA is on the decline, clearly. And I think he actually knocks him out in the first 3 rounds. I think he
hope
does.
so, bro. I hope
think he does. I think, to be honest, I wasn't very impressed by RDA's last performance. That was on the Covington card. We were talking about that earlier. So I wasn't too impressed with that. The guy, I don't even remember his name, but he wasn't even the
Renato Moicano.
He wasn't even the top 10. If I'm not mistaken.
He was also on short notice, bro. Like he took it on a week's
notice. Exactly. And he struggled to, like, I mean, he didn't really, like, he probably won like 4 out of the 5 rounds, but like he wasn't able to finish him or anything. And like, in my eyes, if you can't finish a guy who's outside of the top 10 and you're in the top 10, it's not very impressive. So I think Fiziev knocks him out in the 3rd round.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I think
honestly, I could see it too, bro. I just think that he's gonna get in there in the pocket and he's gonna try to trade hooks and try to trade punches with Fiziev, and I just don't think that's good.
It's not gonna work out so well.
That Fiziev's game, like he's probably got some of the best Muay Thai in MMA, and bro, like he's a beast. His combinations are good, and ever since his fight with Bobby Green, which was an all-out war, super entertaining, he's been more composed in the cage, and he knows when to use his energy, when to expend his energy, and he's more reserved. And I think that's going to be good in a 5-rounder. As we saw the last time he fought, he knocked out Brad Riddell with the spinning kick, which was sick.
Oh, yeah, that was...
I just think Fiziev's going to win. I don't see anyone beating Fiziev unless it's a guy like, you know,
a grappler
or Makhachev, or a guy who's heavy with grappling who can definitely submit you. Maybe a Poirier could beat a Fiziev.
That's a good fight. That's a good fight.
Mix it up too. Gaethje Fiziev, that's a good fight.
That's another good fight.
That's a great fight. So yeah.
I think like the card as a whole though was really, really bad, like you said.
Terrible.
Even the card the week before, like the week before 276 was horrible. I like the main what kind of main event was, like, what kind of main event is that? You can't find any better, like, bigger names. Like I mean Shavkat was what I was personally looking forward to.
Yeah.
Just see how he was, but like other than that, it was horrendous. Like it just is ridiculous to me that they can't find bigger names. Like I know there's UFC London next week.
UFC London's the week after. Next week is, I'm actually going to the fights for the first time ever.
Okay. I got
Ortega versus Yair.
That's a good. I'm excited for. You're gonna be in Long Island.
That's gonna be a war, bro.
That's gonna be a good
durable.
And I completely forgot about that.
We'll pick that one next. We'll pick that one next.
Yeah, we'll talk about that next week. I actually have a surprising
prediction.
I don't know if you will agree with me but we'll cover it next week. But
okay.
But back to like the card, like you can't book anybody out. Like I mean, the main event is sick.
The main event's good, but like, bro, I feel like you gotta have it. You know, every fight night should at least have 3 fucking great fights that are relatively high profile. Like, you know, dude, get some bigger names on this motherfucker. You know what I mean? But
Michelle Waterhouse or something like
that, dude. I'm not watching that.
Dude, nobody wants to. I'm not gonna watch anything until the main event. Like I just like also didn't they also book what was the fight? Who was supposed to fight on 276 as like a?
Oh yeah, the women. Fucking. Dude, they don't even deserve to be named.
Dude, I can't even remember the names. But wait, they're on. Are they this weekend?
No, I think they might be UFC Long Island. So I'll make sure to get a nice bathroom break in.
Yeah, dude. I mean,
I forget their names, bro. But we
don't even need to mention
the card. That would have made it so goddamn bad.
Oh my god, yeah.
But the good thing is this: after this weekend, from the main event, Fiziev versus RDA, and on, we have nothing but good cards for the rest of the month. We have UFC Long Island, which is a pretty big card. Not the biggest names on the undercard, but like really good high prospects. Like
For sure.
Good prospects. A lot of wars are going to be on that card. Then we have UFC London, which is going to be
that could even be a
card.
paper. That if you put a bigger name main event,
yeah,
you put Tom Espinella and then against Curtis Blades as the co-main event. That's a pay-per-view. You got a pay-per-view right there.
And then after that, we have another pay-per-view the week after, which the main event's garbage. It's Pena versus Nunes. I know they had an entertaining fight last time, but I don't give a fuck about that fight. Anyway, that's going to be a stacked card too. So I can't wait for that. I can't wait for that. So from here on out, after this weekend, we're going to have great cards. I can't wait to go to the first one. We'll recap.
That is exciting.
I'm excited. I got seats that are a little higher up. So I know a lot of people, they want to sit on the front row or whatever against the cage. But listen, I'd rather have a great view. And I know that I'm going to have a better view from sitting high up. So I'm looking forward to it. Who knows? Maybe I'll never go to a UFC event if it doesn't live up to it and it's easier for me to just watch at home. But I'm sure it'll be great because it'll be a war early on in the day too, which is cool. I think started like 11. So that's gonna be
that's awesome. I always like that more for like at least the
fight nights.
The fight nights. Like there's no reason for a fight night to be starting at 10 o'clock. Like who cares? Like who cares? It's like like the last fight, like by the time it was the main event, it was like 12:30. Like nobody's staying up to watch that. I'm sorry. Like a main event like that, especially, nobody's staying up to watch that. Make it start at like 3 o'clock and like till 8 o'clock, and like that's perfect. That's perfect. You know what I mean? So
exactly.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm looking forward to this card, but great main event coming up, and then the next week cards. So yeah,
I can't wait. All right, well, guys, I hope you enjoyed the first episode of the MMA Dynasty. We're here to stay. It's going to be the best podcast in MMA. So until next time, we'll recap with you guys next week after this main event. We'll talk UFC Long Island. We'll talk, RDA, Fiziev, and all MMA news. So Lucas Tracy MMA and Jacob Ross. All right, guys.
Have a good one, guys.